Lewis Hart here for The Ring magazine. Delighted today to be joined with Frank Warren once again here in Riyadh this time, ahead of a massive fight week, arguably one of the biggest fight cards of the last decade or so. Frank, it's good to see you. How's things?
This century.
This century,
maybe of the last 100 years.
Yeah.
The quality of it and the 50-50 matches, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say there, a lot of 50-50 matches throughout the card. Yeah. I guess to be a fight week, have the fight week feel, one you must be really buzzing for. Yeah,
I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. As it's nice working and being part of what we're doing here, but more importantly, as a fan, waiting to see these great fights. I mean, they are real good quality matchups.
Yeah. Obviously, there's two main fights for yourself with Hamzah Sheeraz and Daniel Dubois. And I think something for yourself, Frank, you've always been given credit of building fighters from the ground up. And, there's no better example than Dubois and Sheeraz, who are both fighting for world titles this weekend. Must be a bit of a special feeling knowing that, you've had these guys from the start and then now they're, obviously Dubois has gone and done what he's done, especially Sheeraz as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's only you say that. If I think about it, I'm absolutely delighted about it. They've been part of the Queensberry system from the beginning, and they're two quality fighters. Daniel's done it. He's won the world title. Hamzah's opportunity is on Saturday, but Daniel's in a real tough fight against a quality former world champion in Joe Parker, who's on a real good roll at the moment, having beaten world-class fighters. Yeah. And this fight, him and Daniel, is going to be something. I think it's going to be something a little bit special.
For sure. When it comes to Dubois facing someone like Joseph Parker, both really informed heavyweights, where Parker's probably suffered a bit of inactivity as of recent. He hasn't boxed since March. How important is it that Dubois doesn't come into this fight with a degree of almost overconfidence? I know a lot of people have made that claim, especially in the build-up with the whole with Usyk in the ring on December 21st. But how important is it that he doesn't sort of get overconfident and sort of let that get to his head?
Well, that's a good it's a good comment. It's important he just maintains his composure. He knows what he's good at. He knows what he can do. He's found that confidence, his self-belief, and he's demonstrated that in big style in these last 3 fights. And in these last 4 fights, he was the underdog going into all of them. Yeah. And when you look at the fighters that he fought, 3 of them were undefeated fighters. One of them was a former 2-time world champion, and he stopped 3 of them. And this fight is going in as, and I think quite rightly, as the favourite as far as the bookmaker's concerned. So it's a bit of a different experience, but not that he thinks about that. I was talking to Don Charles this morning, and he's really pleased the way he's or the place he's in at the moment. He feels that it's been a good camp. No complaints, but so does Joe. And I've spoken with Joe. Him and Andy Lee are very, very confident about this fight, and they feel they've got the tools, and Joe's got the ability to come away with a prize. But we'll see.
There's obviously a lot made of Dubois, and a lot of people always say, he's sort of turned the corner now, especially when you look at the Usyk fights and the Joe Joyce fights with how they ended. But it's always going to be something that gets brought up, with the idea of him looking for a way out. And Andy Lee made comments, obviously, in the face-off saying that he'd revert back to type. It's hard to ignore. I think Dubois won't affect the
I've got to tell you something. Right, first, I'm sick of hearing the fight with Joe Joyce. He had 4 fractures of his eye socket, and he had a half-detached retina. Yeah. Can you imagine the pain that he was in? And had he continued in that fight, he would have detached his retina, and we wouldn't be talking about him. That'd have been the end of his career. Yeah. Didn't swallow. That's what happened. It was, and I think it happened to somebody who accused him of that, didn't they?
Billy Joe Saunders. Yeah.
Was it Bill?
Yeah, it was Billy Joe Saunders.
I didn't know. Yeah. Well, I know somebody mentioned about it, and it happened to them. Yeah. And it's a dangerous injury. It's blind. Anything can happen. So he made the right move. And the Usyk fight, I mean, Usyk, everybody's saying, and quite rightly, he's the best fighter of the 21st century. He had him in trouble. He hurt him. Whether it's a low blow, he hurt him. And he got a 4-minute break. Who knows what would happen if there'd been no 4-minute break? Who knows what happened? Mm-hmm. And I'm glad, though, that did happen, because that's been the making of him. Yeah. And he's shown in his last 3 fights what he's all about. If you're going to keep thinking, not you, I mean, fighters are going to think they're going to sit there and keep saying to him, you've got no heart, like Hrgovic did, like Baby Miller did, and like AJ did. They all said it. Mm-hmm. Go and ask them the question now. Yeah.
But could you say that in those fights with Hrgovic, Joshua, potentially Miller as well, that he hasn't been pushed to the level where he's got to show like the heart?
What, you don't think he was pushed at all in the Herdwich fight? The first 3 rounds of that fight, he was getting caught with a lot of right-handers against an unbeaten fighter that nobody wanted to fight, who was stuck in a mandatory position for, nearly 2 years because he was avoided. And I know he was avoided because nobody wanted to fight him. That's why we made the match. Don't agree with that at all.
Okay, that's fair enough.
And I've got to tell you, look at his resume, you tell me in the last, how many months now is it? The last 18 months, who's fought as many times as a heavyweight, and look at the quality of the opposition that he's fought. If they're not former world champions, they're unbeaten fighters, or world champions.
That's a fair point. Anthony Joshua's there ringside on Saturday night.
Good.
I spoke to Eddie Hearn yesterday with a clear aim of the winner of that fight. Not looking past Saturday night, but ideally you think that is a realistic proposition for I
just want to get it out of the way on Saturday. See who's going to win. Joe's not coming to make up the numbers. Joe's trained hard. You look at him, I can see he's done a lot of work. He's bulked up, and you can see that he's looking to out-muscle him. You can see that he's confident, and he's really instilled this mental attitude within him. He's got a lot of self-belief, and he should have. He's a former world champion. And as I say, he's coming off he got off the floor twice against Big Bang and went on to win the fight. So he's in a good place himself. That's why it's going to be such a good fight. But Daniel at his best, Joe at his best, it's going to be something special.
For sure. Just moving on to Sheeraz as well, facing Carlos Adames. Obviously, massive fight for himself. As I say, like what I was touching on earlier about it being special with Hamzah, it would be really special if he got the job done on Saturday night.
He's got a tough fight. It is a tough fight, and there's no easy jobs in that division. With the champions, they're all really good champions. But you've got to beat a good champion to be a good champion. And he's done everything that's been asked of him up to yet. Good learning fights on the way. He's picked up a lot of experience. He's got an excellent trainer. And I think the experience that he's got and the way he's been brought through, I believe he can do the job. But it's a tough job.
Yeah. For sure, it's going to be an interesting one. Last couple from myself, Frank. Did want to ask you about a situation that's been developing. Obviously, Floyd Schofield out of the fight now with Shakur Stevenson. Obviously, a lot of things have been said and a lot of things going on at the moment. But what is the latest, I guess? And what can
he's not my fighter. He's not. All I know is the border control. He was taken, or he went to hospital, and they was kept him in for test. And as a result of that, the border control have made, and I think quite rightly, made a decision he shouldn't be able to fight. Now, if somebody's been in hospital, even if they come out and say they're okay and something went wrong, how do we explain that away as a sport?
Yeah.
And that's it. And he's made a few statements. I've seen all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's the board's decision. That's where we are when we're looking for another opponent.
I was going to say, is there an opponent?
Oh, yeah. There's a couple of possibilities there.
Yeah. And throughout this week in Saudi, I'm sure you have a lot of conversations with His Excellency about future fights. I guess, is there anything that you could say on what's being worked on? I know I spoke to Eddie last week and he told me about the 5v5 being in plan. Is there anything else you can give an update for that?
We had discussions. That's why we had a late night last night. That and about 4 or 5 other shows.
Yeah. When it comes to the 5v5, would the aim for that be the end of May?
Don't know yet. We're working on the dates. We're working on the shows.
Yeah. Any update on the likes of Fabio Wardley, Moses of the Town, with future fights for them?
Not too far away from making an announcement on both of those. And you'll like it.
Okay, interesting stuff. Good to hear. Frank, as always, a pleasure to speak to you, mate.
Pleasure to you,
really
yeah,
appreciate
man.
It, mate. Top man. Thank you.
And the
Cheers.
ring.
Thank you, mate. Cheers.